This area near Sunland Park, New Mexico is a focal point for migration. Smugglers can often use these mountains to get migrants through, and it's very treacherous. And right here is where you can see the border wall end. Mexico right there, just a few steps away from us. So these barriers have been put in place and they're being used to try and help buy agents some time.
For years, for us in El Paso sector, this area has been very active with illegal aliens making entry into the U.S. So with this barrier that you see here, it's a mobile infrastructure that we have installed in the area to prevent the use of off-road vehicles by smuggling organizations in order to minimize, deter, or slow down the traffic of illegal migrants. That way our agents can respond safer to the area to make those apprehensions.
Yeah, because I mean, I see this, right? And I think like, oh, this is super easy to climb. I don't see how this would stop anyone from coming into the country.
Exactly.
Can you explain to us a little bit more about the purpose of this?
Sure. The main purpose of the vehicle barrier, as it states in the name, is to stop vehicle traffic. You know, any type of vehicle that is used to smuggle either humans or narcotics into the country. So what it does is allows us to slow that traffic down. We've had reports in the area of the use of off-road vehicles, like side-by-sides, ATVs, dirt bikes, dirt scooters. So it allows us to divert that traffic or slow it down so our agents can respond.
Is this an area where you guys see a lot of people coming through?
The El Paso sector covers all the way from Lordsburg, New Mexico to Fort Hancock, Texas. But the main and most busy area is this area, the Santa Teresa area, the Mount Cristo Rey area behind us right here. It's been the #1 place for human trafficking and human smuggling. So for us, this area is a priority. That's why we have installed the vehicle barrier.
But critics question the effectiveness of these barriers. We've seen temporary barriers like this before, and they're often replaced by permanent solutions that cost millions. So the question is this a Band-Aid or a part of a broader security plan?
So I think that it's a visual deterrent. Places where Texas DPS and the National Guard have put up concertina wire, other barriers, those will have some effect, but I think that the broader effect is a signal to immigrants that are on the Juarez side about not coming over.
Critics talk about, you know, the militarization of the border, and then we do see these vehicle barriers that are also known as Normandy barriers. You know, what is your response to these critics?
Well, El Paso sector welcomes any collaboration with any agency. We will welcome any collaboration with Department of Defense, any agency, federal, state, local.
But critics say temporary solutions come with a cost.
There is no question that these are expensive efforts. The result of these executive orders are going to have to be paid for at some point.
And while the future is uncertain at Mount Cristo Rey, the barriers stand as a reminder of the ever-evolving border landscape, one where security, migration, and community intersect in complex and often conflicting ways.
Well, it's not every day that a district is looking at closing several schools, but that's the reality that EPISD is facing. And we've been hearing concerns from parents, community members, as well as the district itself about these closures. And that's why we're here tonight at EPISD's board meeting, where they're going to be talking about the next steps they're going to be taking when it comes to the destination district redesign. And parents are making their voices heard.
I urge you to vote no, and at the very least, delay.
So let's explain what's happening at EPISD. So in Texas, schools get money for attendance. So you have all of these students, and for each student, you get money, right? But what's happening is we're seeing a lot less students. People just really aren't having kids anymore. So that means a lot less money. What happened before is we had, again, all of these students and all of this money and all of these schools, right? So there were enough schools for the students. Since we're seeing less students, you have these students, these schools, and it costs this much money to run all of these schools. But because there isn't the attendance, there isn't the money. So they're having to manage using this amount of money to do all of these schools. So what EPIC is proposing is taking some of these schools and consolidating them. So 2 schools become 1 school, and this is going to be happening in neighborhoods all across the city. And the district is saying that if they do this, they'll be able to manage the costs a lot better. It'll save people's jobs and programs that kids need. But a lot of parents aren't happy about this, as well as members of the community.
Here in El Barrio Chamizal, a community along the U.S.-Mexico border that's been historically overlooked. Now, tonight, this community is marching against decades of pollution and environmental neglect. Now, at the heart of all of this is an international bridge that connects 2 countries and 2 economies, but also has brought a lot of heartache and grief to this community. Well, we're in the Chamizal neighborhood right now, actually at Bowie High School, and it is so close to the border. You can actually see the wall right here behind me, and it's just a stone's throw away from the International Bridge of Americas, where we see trucks and cars coming and going 24/7, 365 days a year. And there's actually a group of family members and community organizers that have gathered here today to try and protest that bridge and try and fight for cleaner air.
We are trying to get the trucks out of our community. It's affecting a lot of our elderly people, our children.
Right behind me over here is the International Bridge of the Americas. So this is what all of this is about. So right now the federal government is preparing to invest $650 million into upgrading this bridge. So that's why there's a public comment right now, because they're trying to figure out what the next steps are going to be with this. And again, this community wants these trucks out. They want them to be moved somewhere else. And it's actually something that the federal government is considering. Yeah, and I understand that you're a mom, right?
Yes.
What does it mean for you to know that your kids are growing up here?
It's very hard because you know that this could have been placed somewhere else, and they're doing all this here, where we have a lot of immigrants, a lot of poverty.
What is your message to the adults who are going to be making the decision about this?
Think about others. Don't think about yourself. I know that you maybe grow up in a safe place, but we didn't, unfortunately, and we already have enough with the trucks passing by, and we don't want any more trucks.
I say for them to put themselves in their shoes and to think about their kids' future and grandchildren.
Here at Memorial Park, where dozens gathered in protest of the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration. Now, this goes beyond this. We're talking to the people behind the chants about what happens after the protest.
A lot of people here have, immigrant parents, immigrant siblings, immigrant grandparents. We're from El Paso, it's a border city, so a lot of people, we really have, immigrants in our blood.
It's like that. My grandma came from Mexico, and that's why I'm here, born on U.S. soil, and that's why I'm here today using my voice, because she deserves that. All the older people that did this for us, they deserve us to use our voices.
I'm here because I grew up with first generation concentration camp survivors.
The protest was emotional and raw, but what's driving this outrage is deeply personal.
So the protest is over, right? So what happens, what's next for this movement, and how do you create change that actually changes policy?
We can't just make executive change overnight, but we can affect how people see things here on a local level.
I hate to see people labeled as illegal and legal, because it's the measure of a human should not be their legality, and more than, even if we aren't able to enact change over policy, I want the community to know that we love immigrants.
So what are you guys hoping that the people watching this right now take away from this conversation and this protest?
I'm just hoping that they take away that we're a community of love, and we've always been a community of love, and that we can organize and we can be strong, and that we're here and we are not alone.
I think during the Walmart shooting, when that happened, we came together as a community. And then after COVID, we saw a loss of community. And with this election, we saw how divided we are as Latinos. And it is so important to educate one another because Latinos are one of the most uneducated minority groups in the US. They don't want us to win, they want us to fail. And it is so important that we take the initiative. We educate ourselves, we educate one another, we love each other, and we protect each other.
I hope the people at home take away hope, because in times like these, it's scary. It's scary for people who can't speak up for themselves to come out here and do this. So I hope that they know that if they can't show up, we're going to show up for them. We're going to do all that we can. We're going to gather as a community for them.
You hear very outspoken people with their prejudices, and hate is very loud, but today it kind of felt like love was louder.
And the chants have quieted down, but for these demonstrators, the fight for immigration reform is far from over. And the questions remain, will they be able to keep this momentum up? What happens next? And can they actually create change? Reporting from Memorial Park, I'm Vania Castillo.
Well, I'm here in central El Paso where Planned Parenthood has just opened their newest facility, and with a changing political climate in both Texas and the country surrounding abortion, we're talking with them about how they're navigating these uncharted waters.
So this is one of the exam rooms that we do, pap smears.
Over 2.4 million people are served by Planned Parenthood each year across its health centers in the U.S. In recent years, Planned Parenthood has reported serving over 200,000 people in Texas alone each year. Now, this clinic is the only one in all of West Texas.
When you think Planned Parenthood, you think abortions, right? But you guys offer a lot of other services too.
So, Planned Parenthood was known to provide abortions. State laws have changed that.
While abortions have never been offered in El Paso, Planned Parenthood is also now limited in the information they can provide.
If I were to come in and be like, look, I'm pregnant, I don't want to be, what happens now with these changes in the laws?
So it's really restrictive. It's really restrictive. That's all I'm going to say.
I can see you're getting emotional.
It's just, it's very frustrating. It makes us feel like our patients can't trust us.
As of 2023, Texas has one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. Senate Bill 8 passed in 2021, banning most abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy, often before many people even realize they're pregnant.
Contraception has always been stigmatized, and folks' access to that care has always been riddled with barriers.
Texas also has a trigger law that went into effect after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade in 2022. This law bans most abortions except in cases of life-threatening medical emergencies.
And when you got into this, did you think that you'd ever be in this position?
Never. Never.
But even still, exactly 1 week after Donald Trump was named president, they opened their new facility in what they're calling an act of resistance.
For us, it's really been about letting folks know abortion is banned, but that is not all we do.
How does it feel like being a spot of pink in a very red state?
Hopeful.
And we're actually trying to do something a little bit different. We're having a round table here, and we're live streaming this. Now, we put out a call on Facebook and Instagram asking people who'd be interested in talking about this with us on this live stream. So we do have two guests with us. We have Laura and we have Fox here, who've been so generous in joining this conversation with us. So let's go ahead and just dive into this. So I'm gonna say a phrase and then you guys just tell me what comes to your mind when you think about it. So abortions.
I think it's a topic that affects a lot more people than we think, and not just women. However you identify, it affects a lot of different people. And it's not talked about enough. It still can be seen as taboo. But unfortunately, it's a lot more common than we think.
It should be accessible, and my first thought would be, is none of your business. It's a very personal choice, a very personal decision.
Well, we're also live streaming this, right? Because we want to open up the conversation to people who maybe didn't get the chance to do this. So we're actually getting in a Facebook comment right now from Paulo G. Sanchez, and he says that abortion is murder. What do you guys think when you hear that?
I don't think that it's murder. First of all, it's cells.